Look, American democracy has to be a democracy. It needs to represent the voices of all Americans. And frankly, throughout the long history of America, it hasn't always represented the voices of all Americans in a genuinely democratic, participatory manner. And we're working on that. It has been one of the great objectives, I think, of people like John McCain and others, that we would have a democracy that in fact includes the will of the people, all the people, and not just a few, not just the wealthy, not just a certain color, but all of the people. And until that occurs, we will, as President Obama has said, as other leaders have said, we're going to be working on this more perfect union. And so American democracy at home has to represent the interests of all Americans. It has to be based on a set of values that prize the individual, but a set of values that imbues in Americans an inherent responsibility to take care of each other and to take care of the principles of the Constitution, which is, of course, a commitment to human rights, a commitment to free speech, a commitment to an impartial media, a commitment to each other in ways that had been intended by the founders of this country and the framers of the Constitution, even though that Constitution didn't apply to large numbers of the American people as we exist today in our society, but the principles are there. And so an American democracy has to be one in which all Americans participate, but it also has to be an institution of government in which all Americans feel a vested interest and a sense of responsibility. When we can achieve that, then we are a more perfect union. And what do we mean for the world? Look, we're not an old nation in the sense of how old some of the nations are in the world today, but we're the oldest democracy. And it functions pretty well in the big scheme of things. And around the world, people still look to America, even during the most difficult times that we've just emerged from. People still look to America to be that source of a commitment to human rights and values and the rights of women and free speech. Still look to America to be the example of how democratic processes and participatory government really should work. And not all democracies will be the same. And there are many democracies around the world that are quite different from ours, but they look to us to set the example. But also the authoritarian and the totalitarian and the illiberals, they also look to America. They look with concern because their vested interests are never going to be upheld by the United States. They look sometimes with fear because the United States may well be willing to shed the blood of our children and the treasure of our people to defend our democracy and democracies of others. And so while we have a huge responsibility to our own people, the American democracy, we also have a huge responsibility to the democracies of the world and all people who yearn to be free. And we are not perfect, but we strive to have a more perfect union, which makes sense at home for the American people and becomes an emblem of aspiration for those around the world who seek to have a human rights-based democracy as we go forward.